The power of nurturing. When liberal clergy talk about family values, they ask if we do not subscribe to the kind of conservative family values where a father is at the top of the hierarchy, a mother subordinate, and children are at the bottom. What can we say is our central value? The consensus of UU clergy is that the central value is nurturing love. This central value works well in our rapidly changing world of understanding that the definition of gender is no longer just male and female, but must take into account the more fluid identities of the GBLTQ+ communities. I do want to acknowledge my gratefulness at the group that we're sharing the platform. And just to tell you a little history here, about here. It was with trepidation that Lisa Elliott and I, and I'm not sure if we brought Dwight into the conversation, that should we fly the pride flag outside our church? We knew we should, but where would we fly it? It was with trepidation that we did this. Do you know, we flew it out of the window, and my memory fails me a little bit. Like we had to crawl out onto the ledge to fly the flag. Do you remember that? Was that in that room above? Open door.
Over the Green Street door.
Oh, over the door. That's true. That was the second one. But the first one, it was out of a window. No, we had to crawl out on it. You know, it was, I assure you. We'll have to ask Lisa Elliott about this, but geez, to get that flag flying out. Maybe it was above the door. Is that how, did we have to crawl out of the window? Okay, it was above the door of the church. This was a big thing. It was a brave thing. I think we must have been the first. Maybe the first even in New Bedford too.
What year is this approximately?
We are talking about 2004. 2004. And by the way, we might have performed the first wedding in a church of a same-sex couple, because the following day after it was legal to marry same-sex people, 2 women came to our door. It was in the middle of the day. I think the staff had gone home. It was maybe 2 o'clock. And they wanted to get married. And we quickly put a little ceremony together for them. There were just the 2 of them. They had their certificate. And I married them, and that record is in our marriage book. It's in our book. And I think I noted it was the first couple to get married here. So we might be the first church to have married a same-sex couple the day after the proclamation that it was law. Yes, yes. Let us be proud. And you know, now I drive by and I see the great advertisement for support for GBLT. And we were a bit afraid. We were like putting a toe in the ocean when it's freezing cold. And it's just wonderful that we've come to this place within ourselves and having the courage within ourselves to be way out there with support. Fantastic. And then the pride, that was fantastic. And the pride, there was our group, I think the Social Justice for the Earth group was there as well. And then next to us was the New Bedford Church, also. That was the first too. Great. So we're getting better and better. It has been my privilege to officiate at the marriages of gay and lesbian couples. I follow with delight the Facebook page of 2 young men I married 10 years ago, and who now have 2 young sons. They are all well loved by family and friends, and we can all follow their lives on Facebook. Although I notice that they've stopped putting up photos of the boys there, no doubt for security reasons, as any responsible parent would. Since it's Father's Day today, I couldn't help but reflect on how love operates in the relationship between fathers and father figures and their children. Sometimes our relationship or memories of our fathers are complicated, such as in my own. Sometimes love is distorted in the relationship between an abusive father and his children. Such children often crave the very love that is withheld from them, even from the abuser. This type of relationship can color a life darkly. Such children are also unable to relate to a loving God concept, for theologians say that children's idea of God flows from the model their parents set. We can only hope that such children recognize in later years the dysfunction of their upbringing and determine to become a better parent than what they had growing up. When I speak of nurturing love, I mean behaving in a way that we are being fully present in our interactions with children, verbally and non-verbally, validating their feelings, providing physical affection and comfort when sought, laughing and playing games, providing safe mental, physical and social challenges that promote healthy growth. Recently, some child psychologists are recommending that we assume that human beings are good. Assume that your child is basically good. You are basically good. We should grow up with this notion. And when we lose our temper, we should come back to, hey, I'm good. And then you come from that good place. This is quite new for psychologists to be using this in therapy with children and parents. And if you are doing even half of these things, you're doing fine, in my view. In healthy parent-child relationships, love is freely and liberally given. One father said, I am a hero. Yes, I am. Ask any of my 4 daughters. Granted, they're all under the age of 9. I love being called daddy. I love being asked to cuddle one of them to sleep, to scratch her back, to put a band-aid on a hurt finger, to kiss away a bad dream. I love hugs, the kisses, and the praise. Why, twice this week, I was told I was the best daddy in the whole world. It doesn't get any better than that. This daddy would be the very definition of a nurturing father. In the past, these qualities were usually ascribed to mothers. In this day and age, we have widened our horizons to include other family configurations than just a mother and a father. Children today might have 2 mothers or 2 fathers, or perhaps a child might grow up with a single parent, with other adults acting as extended family. I'm very glad to tell you that this church has included in its religious education for children the fact that some children have 2 mummies or 2 daddies, and this was 16 or 17 years ago when Lisa Elliott was the director of religious education. And we didn't know how our own parents were handling it. We were asking them to come up a step. We were. When we teach our children in our religious education classes here, we can be powerful models of extended family for them. Our children are learning here that they can trust adults that are not necessarily their blood family. No matter what the family configuration, the important factor in raising our children is that our operating principle is nurturing love, radical, transforming love. Since this is Father's Day, we need to have some one-liners to tell Dad or Grandpa. So here they are. Ready, kids? My dad said he wanted something groundbreaking for Father's Day, so I got him a shovel. My dad quit his job as an archaeologist. Now his career is in ruins. I never liked my dad's facial hair, but now it's starting to grow on me. I have some copies of these if you want to attach to my children. It is very easy, I found, to be the giving, generous parent of vulnerable, small children. It's a lot harder to be loving and compassionate when our older children behave in certain ways, challenging us. Jesus of Nazareth was concerned about this, so he told a few stories, one after the other, actually, to illustrate what we should do with challenging youth. One of the most profound, he told, is called the parable of the prodigal son. I'm sure many of you know it. So let's remind ourselves of this story. It's from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. And this is a paraphrase version. There was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me my share of my inheritance, for I wish to go away and explore the world." The generous father divided his property between the sons. The younger went away to a far country, and there he squandered his property in loose living. Now, in those days, this far country where you went for loose living would have been Egypt. Well known, it was Egypt, known for its temptations. Even the young son eventually the young son spent all his wealth on rich living, and when there was a famine in the land of that far country, he could only find work taking care of pigs, which is a terrible thing for a Jewish boy. And he barely had enough to eat. One day he realized he'd made a mistake and thought, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, but I perish here with hunger? I will go to my father and seek forgiveness. He journeyed home to his father, but while he was yet at a distance, his father saw him and had compassion and ran towards him and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him what he intended, but his delighted father directed that he be restored to his place in his home, and a great feast must be laid in celebration of his son's return. But the elder son complained that his brother was being treated far too lightly. The father said, "It is fitting that we have a great celebration. You are always with me, but your brother was lost and now is found." There are many layers of meaning in this story, but the main one is that the father had compassion and forgiveness even before he heard that his son had realized his mistake, and thus he ran to him to welcome. Do you think that most parents would have rejected the son? I think the answer is yes. This is why Jesus was teaching with this story of radical compassion, radical and transforming love. We might say that the son offered the father the option of rejecting and accepting him. Thus the father could grow. Some years ago, and I know this is going to be a fantastic story for you, but it happened to me. This happened to me when I was in seminary at Boston University Theological School. I received a late night call in Boston from the daughter of good friends in California. Our children had grown up together. The girl told me about her relationship with her abusive boyfriend. He was clearly a violent man in need of help. What worried me was that she was in danger. But she begged me not to tell her father and asked what she should do. I said I would call her back, but I could hardly sleep that night. Of course she could go to the women's shelter, but would she? The girl had been alienated from her wonderful parents for over a year because of this boyfriend. I decided to call her father and mother at 5:30 a.m. West Coast time, when I knew that her father would be waking up. I said to him, "Eric, do you remember the story of the prodigal son?" He said, "I think I do." I said, "It was about a father whose son wanted to come home after he spent the family fortune." He said, "Yes, I do remember that." Well, I said, if that father had a daughter who was in danger, do you think the father would help her? He hesitated, but then he said slowly, "Yes, the father would help." I said, "Eric, the father needs to help the daughter immediately." And I put down the phone. I later heard that the parents drove down to Southern California that day. Their daughter was greatly relieved to see them, and they all went back home. She is today a successful family counselor. At the foundation of a father or father figure's role must be nurturing love. A healthy kind of nurturing love that will help a young person become who he or she has the potential to be, because she is good and you are good. May we all participate in this to create a better world for us all.